holographic healer, fantastic. Spiritual soul path intuitive, animal communicator, medical intuitive soul singer, fantastic, right? And keynote speaking published author. And she has so much, she's done so much, and so she's going to be talking about animal communicator, communicating healing. Thank you.
Because we already had it and I thought I better hide. I'm a very enlightened person. I'm a very high-end person, so I know it's 9 o'clock in the morning, so I hope you guys can keep up with me. Hopefully you all had your coffee. So, you heard my introduction, it's quite a bit. I'm also the spokesperson for the SPCA, and I'm on a TV show called Newlywed Nearly Dead. It's on Slice, but it's okay if you haven't heard of it. So, they brought me on the show about a year ago because the producer had this fabulous idea. If you haven't seen the show, the basis of the TV show is that people get married and then after a year they basically want to hurt each other. So the producer came up with this idea that this couple that they had on the show had a dog. So they brought me in to find out what the dog had to say about the relationship. And we can tell you it was pretty enlightening. They were so blown away. I told them, I said, please don't tell me anything about this couple. And the producer and the director were going crazy because they're like, no, we gotta give you background. I said, don't give me anything. Just let me go in and let me figure out, let me hear what the dog has to say. And it was mind-blowing. We got down to the point where we even knew where the wife had just had kidney operation. It was just unbelievable. So needless to say, it was such a deep, insightful, so much information that they actually asked for it not to be aired because it had some very deep emotional issues as well too. So it was quite an experience for me. So it was very awesome. So they brought me back on the show a couple times, and because I'm also a medical intuitive and I got some vision, so I can see through the body. So you don't have to worry though, it's not like one of these, okay? And so I see colors and images, and it's taken me a long time to do this. A lot of people look at me and they think, well, how could you be doing all this stuff and have accomplished as much as you have? You look like you're what, like 12? So I kind of, yeah, front rows already agree with me. So basically, I've been doing this about 5,000 years, so the oil will is pretty good, right? Yeah. And in this life, I've been doing it over 22 years. So I'm 37 now, so I've been doing it a long time, and I love it. I travel all over the world. I take groups to Hawaii, and I have a cruise coming up in October, which is Awaken the Divine Blueprint, and I also have a CD and a book coming out in the next year. So I'm busy. So I want to say that I'm very honored to be here, and I met Marilyn at a Psychic Expo here in Montreal, and she invited me to this conference, and I gleefully accepted, so I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very happy to be here to talk about what I love talking about, which is animals. And I figured that's probably why you guys are all here as well too, right? Yes. Yeah, not men, okay? This is not manimal. Okay, there's a few of you. So I've had a few people ask, so anyway. Okay, so animal communication. I figured that most of you here all have animals, right? Oh, do you have a question or are you just waiting? Okay. Oh, you have animals, okay. And you probably have either had one pass on you or you've experienced, animals throughout your entire lifetime. And what we're going to do today over the next hour is very condensed, very fast. I'm going to give you as much information as I possibly can give you. And we'll try to give you some techniques as well too, so that you can also improve your connection with your animals as well too. I mean, how many of you here know when your animal needs to go to the washroom? Every single one of you should put your hand up, right? And how many of you know when they're hungry? Ah! Okay, so what you really need to do is this is taking it to the next level. This is being able to communicate with them and find out more about what's going on in your day, what's your next step, where are we going, are we on the right track, all kinds of things. It's unbelievable the information and the connection that you can build. How many of you here know what chakras are? Every single one of you probably, which is awesome. Yay! Okay, so humans on a physical body have 7 chakras. Now this is going to blow you away. Animals only have 5. And you want to know something really cool? Animals don't have a heart chakra. You want to know why? Anybody want to take a guess? Because they're all heart. because they're here to teach us about unconditional love. They're here to teach us to open up our hearts. I usually, whenever I finish speaking at this, I always say this one quote at the end, but I feel very appropriate in saying it now, where they say that our animals, basically, they say that we rescue animals, but when it comes down to it, truly, they rescue us. I mean, think how many times you've ever been in a heartbreaking situation. I know I asked for unconditional love. I said I was ready to have unconditional love. I totally expected a man to show up, and that's not what happened. Dog. I'm telling all of you, be careful what you wish for. I was going to say I have two animals, but actually, in the picture that you saw in the brochure was my rabbit Rhino. He passed away last year in October of extreme old age. He was 12 years old. And he came with me everywhere, whenever we taught classes, whenever we did anything, readings, healings. And I have a Labrador Retriever, Sushi, which is not in the picture. And they were both Mr. and Miss July last year in the SPCA calendar. They have a bigger resume than I do, it's crazy. They've even been in movies. Rhino, the rabbit, actually had a movie about him. It's funny, but anyway, we'll move on. So basically, they're both Reiki masters. I attuned them all, and every single healing technique that I've learned over the years, or I've downloaded. I also I work with the Palladian, the Syrian, and the Andromedian emissaries of light as well. So they've been downloading a lot of information to me about light body activations as well too. And I've been giving them also to my animals. So now I only have Sushi. She's 10 years old. She looks like she's 2. And for anybody who has a lab, they know this. They say that their brains get mailed to them when they're 3. I'm still waiting. I don't know what that happened. So anyway, so I want to let you guys know, I first started hearing animals communicate since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. And they communicate, they talk, but they're not like Mr. Ed, okay? They don't move their lips. I've had many people ask, go ahead and laugh. And what actually happens is they communicate 3 different ways. So the first way is you can actually hear their voice, and that's what I wanted to say to you about Rhino, my rabbit, because he had a voice like Barry White. So he was very like that. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. I remember when I rescued Sushi, I made the mistake of not asking Rhino, and he wasn't very happy with me. So, you know, Labradors, 2 years old, running around, crazy, backflips, the whole bit, right? And the rabbit came out, stopped and looked at him and went, "Is it really necessary for you to flip out every time she comes home?" Where is this coming from? At the time I was living by myself, so there was no way that it could be anybody else. I mean, I know I see angels, I hear angels, but this was a totally different voice. So I looked over at Rhino and I thought, no, he had his ears like this. Now normally I always hear wild animals communicating with me, not the bears, so I stay away from the bears. But I've had, at my house, I've had to put up a sign on my back porch that tells the animals my working hours. Because I've had psychotic squirrels showing up at 2 in the morning, banging on my door. And yeah, it's true. I mean, it's crazy. I'm writing a book about it. And I've had this one time when there was these 3 sparrows that came, and there was one sparrow in the middle with the wings spread open like this, and one sparrow had this wing, and the other sparrow had this wing. And I was like, what's going on here? It was like a people's word session. And it turned out that one of the ladies told me that he was a cheating SOB. So they were the 2 girls, and he got caught. And I thought, wow. So it even happens in the animal kingdom. It's unbelievable. So I tell you, it's wild. So the things they tell you, I thought, my God, I can't believe I'm experiencing this. So the stories, I could tell you thousands of stories. They're incredible, and I'll try to filter them through as we talk throughout the day. I have one of my favorites, is Larry the Loach. Does anybody know what a loach is? A loach is a bottom feeder fish. And he was basically doing the swan dive out of his aquarium every single day. And I got called in to talk to him and find out what was wrong. Well, it turned out loaches, that because they're bottom feeders, they like to sleep in little caves. They want to have places to hide. So it turned out he didn't have any caves in his aquarium. All he had was a sand or something, and that was it. So he was very upset. So when I went to go see him, he was in the middle of a swan dive. And I was like, you've got to be joking. Like, what is going on? And he told me, he goes, oh, it's so cruel, I can't take it anymore. And I thought this was the first time I'd ever talked with a fish. So I thought, okay, let me see what happens here. You never know, right? So he just didn't like it. So he told me he wanted to have those little, the keys and everything. So I told his owner went and redid his aquarium. And I told him also too, I go, can you please drop in a rose quartz? So I'll cover some crystals for you as well too. So that you know if you're having a certain situation, if you have an aggressive animal, or if you have an animal that you're introducing into your new, or a new animal into your new home, what kind of crystals to use for that. So I suggested that he use rose quartz. So about 2 weeks go by, and Larry has not committed suicide. He's not doing swan diving out of the tank anymore, but they couldn't find him. So he was cleaning out the tank, and it turned out he'd moved in with the rose quartz into one of the caves. Now, whether he mated with it, I have no idea, but he was one happy fish. Larry died about 2.5 years ago. This is going back about 8 years ago when this happened. And he only ever once tried to jump out of the tank after that, so it was quite a successful story. So, we go back again to saying, how do animals communicate? Well, there's 3 different ways. Now, before we go to that, I just need to ask one very important question of all of you here, okay? How many of you are mental? What? Huh? Okay, we have a few honest people. Not mental crazy, doesn't mean you need a straitjacket, okay? Although I'm sure some of you wish you had one. Mental means you think too much. You overanalyze. One honest person? Come on. It's overanalyzing, contemplating, stressing, worrying, right? We're all guilty of that, right? So this is one of the barriers of helping you to overcome, or difficulty of overcoming communication with your animals. So, because one of the first ways that they communicate, and I want you to understand too, because rhino communicated by having a voice, it doesn't mean that all animals have a voice, okay? It doesn't mean that they all speak this way. The second way was mental telepathical. So it's like an imprint from one brain to the other. And a lot of you get this already because you already know when they need to go to the bathroom and when they're hungry, right? So this is taking it to the next step. And the third is pictures. You might get a visual picture, or you might get a popular one lately has been a bowl of salmon. So I explained it to a couple of people who've had dogs coming to me, they've been having issues. And they were having a lot of stomach issues, and it turned out that they needed salmon, or they were really craving salmon. And when you look at the property values of salmon, it was actually helping to heal what was holding the grief or the stress within their stomach. So it's pretty blunt. So again, we'll go over this one more time. So the first way they communicate is speaking, but they don't move their lips like Mr. Ed, okay? The second way is mental telepathical, and the third is pictures. Now, I generally communicate now telepathically because I've gotten to such a level where I don't need to go through all the different questions. But what I want to show you all is how to be able to do that as well. You heard my resume, it's kind of crazy. But what I want you all to understand is that you don't need to be a psychic. You don't need to be a healer, and you do not need to be a guru or whatever. You can all do this because you all, first of all, have a heart. You just need to learn how to ground yourself, communicate, and learn how to let go and release any mentalness, right? Well, everyone got serious. So these are the things. Now the other thing I really like to focus on with animals is etheric chords. Does anybody here know what an etheric chord is? Want to try it? I think it is. She's saying it's an energy cord, because we're all connected, right? All is one, we are one, and with life, right? So, this is, I hope you can all see this. So this is us, people, okay? And here we're going to go with the animal. Okay, it looks like a rat, it's supposed to be a dog. Now, etheric chords can come in different colors. you have a red, and for those of you who are not clairvoyant, which means you can see, you can pick up the energy. You'll be able to feel it as well too. But red is when you have an exchange of energy that is negative, that is weighing you down. There's two types, silver and red. Silver is an equal exchange of energy, and it's energy basically with us allowing to transmute energy of love between each other. It's not taking energy from anybody else. So animals, as you may or may not know, some of you, they are very empathetic or clairsentient, which means they feel, they absorb. They're like sponges, right? They absorb and take on everybody else's emotional wounds. So that's why, I'd say 90% of the time, the same issue that the animal has is exactly what the human has. Pretty wild, right? So it makes you really think twice. And a lot of the times too, over all the years of doing this, what I found is the etheric cords play a major role in this. So what happens is, we'll say a red cord. Usually they go from the solar plexus, chakras with animals, to people. So can everyone see this? So the red is the negative. There's no silver, so for the sake of it, we're going to use blue. It's equal exchange. Now you will always have these cords, especially the silver. They are impermeable, you cannot cut them. But the red ones are the ones you want to release. Because as most of you know who have animals, animals love taking on your emotional wounds. Now this does not mean that if you have cancer, or if the animal has cancer, that you have cancer, okay? That's a really big question they get a lot of. And what it actually represents is that energetically, they've taken on a lot of the emotional wounds of the person. And because the person, their owner, isn't processing it, the animal takes it on. But many times, the animals don't know how to ground it. So that's why one of the first things in the rules of learning how to communicate is for you to learn how to meditate or to learn how to ground yourself and release what is no longer serving you or serving anybody else in your household so that the animal doesn't take it on. The other thing that's interesting too is what doesn't work is when you say, I don't want you to pee on the carpet. How many of us have said that? What is better to do with them is when you say, I like it, when you go to the washroom outside. And they're like, oh, okay, away they go. So, positive reinforcement, which you would probably already know, you guys are all very smart, and the cord cutting, etheric cords. So what's really good to do is by asking or invoking Archangel Michael with the sword of truth, cut the cord between which is no longer serving you, and then putting an energy of protection around, again, I should have brought markers with the colors for protection like this. So you can do like a bubble of white light, pink light, whatever works for you, whatever you feel is the right thing. Some people like to use blue light for protection, some people like to use white. It's completely up to you. So this way, what happens is the animal does not absorb any more negativity, and you can also tell them, I like it when you're happy. I like it when you're here. Don't say, I don't want you to take my stuff on anymore, because guess what they're going to do? Take the stuff on, exactly. They're very understanding. It's unbelievable some of the things that they can tell you. About 5 years ago, I had a lady come to me, and she told me that her cat was up singing all night long. Couldn't understand why. Oh wait. Like this, and she was losing it, right? Because obviously she wasn't sleeping. She also said the cat would jump right onto her chest and sit there and sing, and then put her paw underneath her nose. All the time like this, checking her nose. So we asked the cat, I said, what's going on? Why are you behaving like this? And sometimes for those of you who channel and for those of you who are healers will understand this, sometimes a message just comes through and there's nothing you can do about it. It just comes out. And this was one of those instances, and it had been that basically the lady was trying to kill herself. She had written a note saying that it was, she was done, she was finished, and she basically was going to take a thing of pills. So what the cat was doing was checking to make sure that she was still breathing and keeping her up by singing. Isn't that something? So it was mind-blowing for me, because that was the first time I had experienced this particular situation. And when I told her this, she was so blown away because she thought there was no way that anybody would know this. And it just shook her to her core to the point where she realized what she was doing. And the cat saved her life. So I ran into her about 3 or 4 years ago again. I think I was in Ottawa or somewhere. And she told me, she actually wrote me a really beautiful letter and said how it had saved her life and how her and her cat were best friends now and how they communicated and she told the cat everything and how their relationship had really grown and escalated. So it was really amazing. I thought I saw a hand. I wanted to also say too, if you have a question, I like to do interactive, so please feel free to put your hand up. Go ahead. It's all angels are connected to animals. Actually, that's a really good question too, because you all know that you all have guardian angels, right? So do animals. But you know what's really cool? The animals are fairies. Cool, eh? Fairies. Usually the animals are fairies, but the animals are also angels themselves, right? They're physical manifestations of angels. So the reason we invoke Archangel Michael is because he has the sword of truth, and that's one of the job descriptions that he does is cutting cords. But the actual angel and the saint, you probably all know this already, which would be the saint you call upon to communicate better with. Come on, you know, St. Francis of Assisi, of course. And Archangel Archangel Ariel. She's also the nature angel. So you can also invoke her for help as well. So now we've gone through with the cord. Let's go through with how to help you to better communicate with your animal. So what you do is when you begin, you can visualize linking up your chakras. So what we do, I'm going to use red for this. No, maybe black because we probably don't have on the thing yet. And so linking up chakras is basically going to your heart center and visualizing a tube of light coming out of your heart into the heart of your animal. Okay? So here's your heart. And you link up. You can also, because it's the beginning, ask for permission if it's okay to communicate first. Now the next part is where everybody gets confused, people get impatient, people get frustrated. You have to wait for the response. How many of you have the patience for that? Again, great, honesty, thank you. So, I've seen many people pick up their cat and say, "Talk to me!" And the cat's like, "No!" It's about peace, right? It's about being calm and staying grounded. So, by holding on to, you can go to try to get into a centered space. Again, you don't have to go to an ashram and you don't have to go om for, 3 days. You can do it just as long as you center and ground yourself. Give yourself, it can be 5 minutes, it can be half an hour. It's up to you because you all know, right? You are all in image and you are all God, so you all have this ability. So when you remember that and you tap into it, all the hidden worlds open up to you. All the kingdoms and the animal kingdoms, the plant world, everything. The other thing too is energetically, animals' vibration is a lot higher than ours. So because they're already resonating in unconditional love, what we need to do is also sometimes we have to elevate our own energy so we can meet them. That's the key. And when you do that, it's incredible. I've had people ask me, what do you do in a situation where there's a dog that wants to bite you or is always, like this, right? Well, remember how animals have a tendency to take on the energy of the human? Usually if they're biting you, it's because the owner's either being afraid of being bit or wants protection. It's usually the case. It's not the animal. It never is the animal. So it's really mind-blowing how it opens up your entire perspective of what's really happening and how animals really affect you. Now, the other part I think is hilarious is how many of you have more than one animal? Multiple. Okay. Do you know that this means you have multiple personality? Or what? Right. Hi, let's get those. Oh, hi. No. They are all a reflection of one of your personalities. How many of you have heard of Ho'oponopono? What? Ho'oponopono. A few of you, excellent. It's a Hawaiian healing technique, right? Which is about I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, right? So, I was in Hawaii just a few months ago, everyone was going crazy. Hey, I love you, how's it going? Please forgive me. I was like, wow, this is cool. What they say is that we are all a mere reflection of each other, right? So talk about how many personalities do I have that all of you people are in this room, right? Pretty crazy, right? But I'm also a mirror image to all of you. So are animals. So what happens is even with the animals, you can also embrace and learn to also tap into what is your shadow. What are the emotional wounds that you need to work on? What are, and it's not just, it's not a negative, as you all know. The shadow has a lot of lessons and many gifts in it as well too. So the animals will do everything they can to help you to recognize that. And again, how many of you know too, whenever you've been upset or emotional, and they come and they sit right beside you all the time, right? You guys all know that animals are psychic, right? Go ahead.
I want to ask you a question. With regard to sound, what is the relationship between dolphins and humans? And with regard to the planet and the biosphere, what is the relationship with the humpback whales and the biosphere and the planet?
Did everybody hear that? Okay. So the dolphin is actually our blueprint. The dolphin is the absolute perfect, and I don't want to say perfect, actually I should change that word because that would imply a judgment. It is our highest unlimited potential when our full light body is activated. Now, how many of you, when you meditate or you do some very intense energy work, you sparkle, you feel your body coming alive? That's your light body. I hope you guys can all see this picture. This is the cover of my upcoming CD, and it represents sparkling energy is about your light body being activated. So the dolphins, what they do is they hold that energy, they hold that space. And what they do is, I don't know if you know this, but they have rainbow auras. Did you know that? That is a full alignment and a full energy of all the different realms, the kingdoms, and all the different light body activations that you can possibly possess. So they are the highest frequency of animal or mammal, or I want to say being on the planet that is here to help and assist with our evolution. And of course 2012. But I didn't really want to get into that because that's a huge topic. But a lot of the animals are also here to help with that as well. Because 2012, as you all know, this is the 5th time that this is happening. It is a huge alignment that happens. It's a galactic alignment that happens once every 225,000 years, with an age that happens every 5,125 years, and also another shift of a galactic alignment of 26,000 years. All of these 3 elements are going to be on the day of 2012. The animals, what they're doing is helping us to awaken our heart, because we're moving, this planet is transmuting to a 5th dimension. And in 2012, if you're not resonating on the heart chakra, for all of the people who are mental, we need to help to move the energy to the heart. So the animals are trying to awaken you all to that. And they say that apparently if you're still in the 3rd dimension, then you're moving to another level or to another planet. But there's many different varied theories on that. So what I tell people about this, because this is a very hot topic, is you're just going to know what to do. You will know. It's already embedded in you. You're hardwired with it. It's in your DNA. You're going to know. And the animals will help you with it. With the whales are the guardians of the earth. So they basically travel all over, and you know, with their sonar, they heal. Now sound, as you have quite a question there, so thank you very much. The sound is of the 7th dimension. Sound is very healing. As you know, when you hear a gong or a crystal bowl, it aligns you, right? Depending on what gong or crystal bowl you're listening to, right? Because it could be an F sharp or it could be a G flat, or a G sharp. And a G sharp is actually where you can ground and release the energy that you're holding within your auric field. So for those of you who do tuning forks will know this, because you always end with a G sharp to release what's within the physical body. they release the sound through the oceans to heal the planet. When you connect, I'll get to you in a second. When you connect with them, with the whales, and I saw the whales in Hawaii, they were incredible. They just happened to be there at the time for their mating season. Is a very healing effect comes over you, just like with the dolphins. Now the dolphins also are here to show us how to play, because I mean these guys got it right. They work as a team, they know how to make love, and they play. How many of us don't do that? One honest person, oh my God. So, well, are we talking about the Gulf or are we talking about around the world? This is the first I've heard of this. So what I pick up on it is some of them are giving up, some of them energetically want to go to a higher level. I would have to tune into the oversoul to find out what the actual message is of that. So I'm sorry, I wish I could do that right now. Go ahead.
I just came across some tapes of whale songs. Are they good to meditate to? Or
Absolutely. Because of the sonar, remember? And that goes back to, I want to go back to the seventh dimension. So we're here in the third dimension, right? Physical. And fifth dimension is energy, is your feelings, your intuition. Seventh dimension is helping you to activate. There's 9 dimensions. Some people say there's up to 13. But actually, a really good book to read on this is Alchemy of the 9 Dimensions by Barbara Hand Cloud, if anyone's interested in that. That will give you further information, as well as the sacred geometry, which has been coming in with all the crop circles. If you look at the crop circles, they're actually energetically to align you and open up your third eye. So it's unfortunate that they don't show it to you on the news because they don't want people to be aligned. So that's a whole other topic, one world order. Anyway, so is there anything else related to this question?
With regard to the chakras, you're talking about animals with 5 chakras. We have 7. Are we going up to 13?
That depends on you.
Depends on you.
It depends on the person because you will have the ability, but it's whether or not you want to embrace it. I tuned in with the oversoul of the whales, and what I got is that they're shifting. And they're going to the next level because they've completed their mission, and they're ready to evolve to the next layer. Of course, all the time, but who listens, right? Only the intuitive people, so they're getting a bit frustrated, but there really isn't frustration because they understand that it's all just a part of the lesson, as is the oil spill, because the oil spill is a major awakening. That had to happen so that everybody would realize the greed that is taking over this planet, that everything is about money, and it's really upsetting people, which is fantastic. It's opened up everybody's heart, just like the Chile earthquake, and also too with Haiti. But the amazing part is how astrologically that was all aligned as well too. Last week was an amazing weekend too with the Grand Cross lunar eclipse. I hope a few of you had an ability to meditate. Okay, so some questions over here.
Yes, I have lots of bears in my yard, and I communicate with them a lot. You mentioned that you communicate with all animals except bears. What is the reason?
Because I was joking.
Oh,
I'm not going to walk up to a bear who's standing right here and go, hey, how's it going?
yeah.
Mind you, I met a polar bear last year. But, see how people take you literally? You have to be careful with everything you say. But no, it's not because I don't love bears. It's interesting though too, actually that you asked that. I'm happy you did because we can also look at animal totems. So if you have so many bears around your house, that could mean that you need some hibernation time.
Everywhere I go, I see bears too. You know, like
And it's mother too.
bears. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you keep seeing an animal all the time, over and over again, that is also is a symbol. I took a weekend off last week and went up to Honey Harbor, and there was a spider that was hanging out everywhere, which is kind of funny because my name's Charlotte, right? Charlotte's what? But the spider was hanging in the window, and I was looking at it, and I thought, okay, I see you have a message for me. It has to do with creativity, building your wishes, your dreams, what's your next step? So then I walked into my bedroom, and there was on my book, I was actually reading a book called Soul Love. Guess where the spider was? On the book. I thought, oh, come on! And then just to make sure I I got the message. In the morning I woke up, he was sitting right on my nose. Okay, I got it, thank you. So sometimes they're very clear about letting you know. It's just the same as if you see eagles. I saw an eagle yesterday driving here to Montreal, which was amazing. And eagles, again, connection to spirit source. So pay attention to the animals that you see. The one I see all the time, I love this bird, is the turkey vulture. They're amazing. Do you know what they represent?
No.
They're the updated version of the phoenix. Rising of the ashes, flying transformation.
Scorpio.
Yeah, that too. Don't get me started on Scorpio. My boyfriend's a Scorpio. Anyway, there's two signs in Scorpio too, right? Scorpio and Eagle. So, which represents, if it's a scorpion, it's a lower based energy, and they're still working out their third dimensional emotional wounds, but a eagle is obviously someone who's a higher dimensional Scorpio. So it's always interesting, you never know what you're getting with Scorpio. Omega, alpha to the omega, it's kind of funny. So, were you saying something again, or?
Do you have any tips on if you'll get a dog again?
Tips on?
Picking out a dog.
Oh,
Finding a good
I'm so glad you asked. You know how you pick out a dog? You let them pick you. And this goes too with reincarnation, okay? They do reincarnate, and this is where we were going. I was saying about animals being psychic, and what they do is, because everyone wants proof, right? So unfortunately, the one proof when they finally got it was the tsunami. 300,000 people died in that, but do you know that one animal was not found dead? Doesn't that blow your mind? So, they're always there. They know. They got out of there because they knew it was coming. And this is the problem with this day and age. We've lost touch with nature, with the animals. And what's happened, and then we can get into religion and paganism and how, religion came and took over and Catholicism and everything. But anyway, let's move on. That's a whole other story. And hang on, I can see the questions. So, when animals die, many times they'll ask you if they want you to come back. Now, this totally goes with your question, okay? My producer from my radio show's dog had died. And just before he had died, we gave him permission. This is something else you need to know about. You can give your animals permission to go, and you do not have to euthanize them. When you give them permission, usually they die within 3 to 7 days in their sleep. So before the animal had died, we asked him if he wanted to come back, and he said yes. He goes, well, how are we going to know it's you? How are we going to find you? He goes, I'm going to pee on you. He was like, what? So about 6 months later, they got a very unusual phone call, totally out of the blue, and they said, we have this dog, and it was one of those, it was a different type of dog, Bernese mountain dog or something. It's like a 160-pound horse. It was crazy. And he basically got this call, and they said, you have to come down and you need to see this animal. And they did, and the breeder showed them the dog, the little dogs running around, and the little dog saw them, immediately ran over them and peed on their leg.
Oh.
Well, the breeder was horrified. My animal never acts like this. I can't believe it. Meanwhile, they were doing cartwheels all around the property, so they didn't understand what was going on. So it turned out that that's how they let you know. It's the same with cats when they show up, too. When you have a stray cat show up, cats are also about protection. So energetically, usually when they show up, it either means you might need a little more energetic protection around your house or around yourself, or sometimes when they show up, it's also too because there's a passing that's about to happen within your house as well. Go ahead. You're so cute.
The main reason I came to see your lecture today is regarding reincarnation.
Right.
Upstairs from me is a dog that just moved in a year ago. I had dogs in my past. I had 2 females that I had to give away many years ago.
Right.
Because they were too yappy and the neighbors were complaining. I had 4. So I had to give away those 2 dogs. I found a home years ago. Another dog moved upstairs, and as soon as I saw the dog took a look at me, it would start to pee. And it went crazy. My upstairs neighbors are they're very unsettled because every time this dog sees me, she goes absolutely bananas, and I've never met this dog before. And it's really unnatural for affection for her because she pees, and she gets so excited when she sees me, only me. She pees. Is she a reincarnation of one that
Sounds like it.
It sounds like
But what I would do with you is I would tune in with your heart center and go immediately into the center of the dog
embarrassing.
to get the information and ask them, what is it you need to tell me? But please keep your mind open. Don't get stuck on the grocery list or how many bills have to get paid or who's doing what, right? Because then that gets you more confused. So go ahead. What is this? Animals are huge for healing. With my dog Sushi, whenever I have a healing studio, she's always with me. She'll lie under the bed, or I've seen her get up on her hind legs and use her 2 paws and work on people as well. Well, I'll work on their head, she'll work on their feet. So that's why for all of you who are tuned, all of you, or whenever you take any type of healing course, Reiki, anything, there's so many amazing things out there. Give it to your animal, because it also elevates their energy as well too, lifts their soul, and helps you better communicate. So it's amazing. It just gets that connection together like this. It's really phenomenal. And it also improves your love. Rhino was 12, I told you that, right? Rabbits usually live about 5 or 6 years if you take care of them. So 12 years is pretty astounding. So, question, anyone else have a question? Go ahead.
Is there a resource to understand the meanings for each animal, message they bring, like Jung's archetypes, each animal?
The best one I would suggest is Ted Andrews, Animal Speak. Phenomenal. I saw deer. I've been seeing deer like crazy everywhere. And I've had geese come up to me too. I had this one come up to me and go, right there, right there. And I was like, what's wrong? Well, you got energy, can you heal my back? It's killing me. I was like, are you kidding me? Okay. It's amazing. I mean, they feel the energy. The thing too is that you have to work out the issues with trust. But you need to learn to trust yourself. When you trust yourself and you feel that energy, it waves off of you, right? Mirror image. It goes out into the universe and comes back and attracts back people to you that are also that you can trust because you trust yourself. Animals feel that. That's what they're testing for. That's why you see when you have animals that are in the wild, they run, right? They scurry, they take off because they don't trust all humans, right? Although I don't know about squirrels. When you see them in the parks, they're pretty bold. Where's my nut? Did you bring it? Come on, let's go. It's almost like you got some kind of a secret deal going on in there. It's pretty funny. So, lots of stories of squirrels. I want to tell you guys about Tango, my horse. Go with the sound question. I walked into the bar and Tango had this huge, horrible headache. And when I walked up to him, and he goes, I can't take it anymore. And I said, what's wrong? And he goes, I can't listen to Pavarotti anymore. And I went, what? So I'm like completely dumbfounded because I can't believe that he's even saying not the music but the words. So I go over to the groomer and I said, okay, you're gonna think I'm insane, but I don't care. This is what your horse told me. So I had to pick him up off the ground because guess what he played in the barn? I couldn't believe it. So he goes, well, what does he want to hear? I go, I don't know, I never asked, I was freaking out. So we went back and we asked him, turned out he wanted to hear salsa music. Tango, salsa music? I thought, come on. So about 6 months later, I was at the Kubota Cup, which is the qualifiers for the Worlds. And I was there, they hired me to come in Rogers TV to do this animal thing, and I sang the anthem. So we were there, and I walked by and there was a barn. There were 16 horses all in the barn, and they were the Mexican guys. They were so cute. And the music blaring in the barn, and it was all salsa. You could see the horses dancing. They were like, and I thought, am I seeing this? And he goes, oh, they love it. They go crazy. Wow. So it's really mind-blowing. They love the music. So I'm making a CD now for animals. Oh, go ahead. We got a question. Is there your hand?
I have lately, I guess the last couple of months, where I sit outside on my front porch, there's a bird nest right next to where I sit. By
angels that you're they feel very safe in your space, and they're letting you know how safe you are wherever you go. Your energy radiates peace. That's beautiful. You guys all know that your energy, wherever you go, you elevate a place just by being there. You don't have to do anything. So, what an amazing sign. So, I'm trying to think of what else we can talk. There's so many things. I just want to go over a few crystals. Go ahead. Sure. Outside and fertilize the flowers. And she's not angry, she's not upset, she's it's her battle cause right here by the base. It's causing her some grief. I feel a lot of red in that area. So, sexual problems. She also wants her own. She wants her own. And crystals, if you can put crystal type glitter in there, or has glittery crystals or something, she will love that. So it is sparkly, shiny. There's supposed to be some kind of, I guess your cat likes a thing. A glittery type of glitter change. I'm sure there's got to be something out there, but try that. And tell her I like it when you pee, I like it. And actually, it feels to a bit of a urinary thing, so I would suggest you get some rose quartz and put it around the litter box, because rose quartz is an energy of love, so she'll love pink. Wow, some of it. And then, go ahead. The fall. I actually have a list here. If you're interested in it, you can write down your email address, and I'd be happy to send you the announcement when it's all ready. So, go ahead.
With regards to the dimensions, as you mentioned before,
Here we go.
with the planetary changes going on today, do you actually think we're in the third dimension, or have we moved into the fourth and ready to go into the fifth?
You can be in all 9 dimensions in the physical.
I'm talking about the planet, not the,
Yeah, I know.
not
But
the
I'm
physical,
going to show
the
you.
planet.
No, the planet, not yet. But with people, the Earth star chakra, which is the center of the Earth, is the first dimension. The energy, the molten lava, magma, is the second dimension. Minerals, flowers, all that, that's all the second dimension. The third is where we are. They actually say, the Palladians tell me the best way, Palladians are fifth dimensional beings of light, tell me the best way to explain 9 dimensions is a tree. Because the tree roots go into the earth, the trunk is the second, this is the third, manifestation, right? When you bring in the energy to manifest all your greatest wishes and dreams. And then, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th are the canopy above the earth. And what's amazing, anything past the 5th cannot be negative. It cannot be negative, okay? The world elite, the consciousness, the negative stuff is all in the 4th dimension, which is sometimes you see like a haze over the energy. That is what we need to work through. That's where our shadow sits, okay? 5th, 6th, 7th, this is where we're all working with all the different yoga. Yoga, I believe, is 6th dimension. 7th is, okay. 7th is the sacred geometry sound. And they're all overseen by different beings. So, Palladians, 6 is Syrian, 7 is Andromedan, 8 is Orion, and 9 is the Milky Way, which is where we are. And I could even draw you the galactic alignment for 2012. The Earth, not yet. We are in the process of it. She's shifting. As you can tell, as the world changes, all the earthquakes, even the one that happened in Ontario just last week or something, the tornadoes, it's all shifting, has has to release, has to let go. But there's also a theory about a planet called Planet X. I don't know too much about it, but they say it's a blueprint of the Earth and how it's going to be the fifth dimension, but I've also heard that the Earth is going to be fifth dimension, from what I gather, and it says, the Earth School, and where we come to learn all of our lessons, manifestation. We're getting off topic here, this is about animals, so, but I hope that helps. So, I saw a couple other questions here, go ahead.
What do you do when you have two man dogs that don't get along?
Bring in a girl? No. You're gonna get more trouble. The question is, what do you do when you have two male dogs and they're not getting along? Are they brothers?
No.
Okay, I would definitely suggest you go and rent a truck and load it with rose quartz. Bring it into the house. It's the energy of love. Anyway, speaking with crystals is one of the best ways to work with healing. What you do is you grid your house with it, you separate the two, and I would suggest you cut the cords. Anything negative to rescue these two animals? Okay, so remember we were talking about the cords here? Generally, they would have cords attached to their previous owners. So I would suggest that you invoke Archangel Michael and cut any and all existing and old cords to their previous owners, and put a green light. I would suggest, ask for Archangel Raphael, the healer, to either jump into their body and spin out anything that's negative and dark, or to seal and heal all wounds in all directions of time. I've been given that. So I can only do like 2 more questions. I saw you 2 back there, so we'll end it with you guys. And whichever one of you want to go first.
One of the volunteers asked me to ask a question about the whales that were killed by the Japanese.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, we'll get to you too as well, okay? The whales that are being killed by the Japanese.
The sea shepherd is trying to protect them.
The sea.
It's a group of people who are trying to come between the Japanese and the whales, and they're trying to protect the whales. There are a bunch of people that are unbelievably brave.
That's
There's
amazing.
lives in there.
From what I understand with what's going on in the Far East, it's not just the whales, it's also the shrimp. Because they're trying to hoard on it because they feel that there is not going to be enough. And it's basically for money and prize. And there will be, what I'm getting by 2011, there will be a block to this or an end to this, but there still won't be an ending to the pirating of it. So it'll always be there. The truth is, we have enough to last everything. We have abundance. The thing too is that the entire blueprint of all the animals, all the plants, everything resides in the 2nd dimension. So we have abundance. That also means that we will not run out of oil. As much as you are being full, we have enough. We will always have enough. It's just the way it's being portrayed in the media. But with the whales, there will be, I get an interception. I wish it was sooner than 2011, but it's bureaucrats, it takes a little longer. And I see that this group of people will be expanding even bigger. That will encompass many other countries as well. So it will be brought, don't like to use the word under control, but it will be brought to, let's just say, justice. So I hope that helps with that question.
Bob Barker is the one who organized.
I'm sorry?
Bob Barker is the one who's been organizing this.
Oh, I didn't know this.
The Sea Shepherd, he bought it. Bob Barker.
That's amazing. Everyone's doing everything they can to, and they will. There will always be, but we also have to understand the balance. We always have to have like the yin and yang symbol. We always have to have that. So it'll also be to bring awareness. So those whales would be sacrificing themselves for the awareness of the planet. So it's send them love. I'm sorry, I'd love to answer all the other questions, but we'll end up with those 2 in the back, and then go ahead.
Thank you. I have so many particles around.
I'm sorry, so many what?
Particles
very sexual sign. I don't know if you want to get up and dance or. It also means that it's red, right? So, see, animals want to play. They want you to laugh. They don't want you to be so serious. You remember that tax commercial? The dog looking at its owner. Are you done your taxes yet? It also means that whatever you're wishing and wish fulfillment, dreams and goals will be coming true in the next 12 months, 12th cycle. Because it is also a sexual energy, it would represent your second chakra, which is also manifestation and creativity. So you need to make a vision board, get your list down of what you want, and let it go. Everything is in divine and perfect order. And your question, thank you.
Also, about birds, thank you. Just think let's dive bomb in the car, they'll come in every day and then just whoop, come right before them. I'm like, oh.
What kind of
That
birds?
was a walk yesterday on the highway.
I guess you need to really tap into your intuition a bit more. Yeah. You need more, there's more awakening coming. It's like I had a friend, someone say to me too, they had a grouse fly right into their window, and unfortunately it died. But a grouse is also a bird of learning to trust your intuition. So you could be elevating your abilities, or telling you to learn to trust more. So I would love to answer all your questions. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm really glad you all came out. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. And so thank
Wonderful subject.